Okay, today I'd like to talk about lighting, especially for your indoor needs. Now, 35 years ago, I started out growing inside, getting plants started. Spring always comes late here, so it's nice to have your flowers ready to bed out and your vegetables and that. So I started out with your standard Sylvania 4-foot 40-watt grow bulbs. They weren't very effective. They worked, but they weren't terribly effective. Then I moved over to these guys. Now this is your Sun Blaster. It has the Nanotech T5 reflector on it. And these worked much better. So what I ended up doing is getting a combination of these, two of the 6400K ones, which are your blue light spectrum, and then one of the 2700K, which is more of your red spectrum. That worked much, much better, more aimed towards growing, so everything worked much better. Then I progressed to this. This is an LED. Now this is a combo LED. You can get just straight white ones, which are fine for germinating. But what this one is a combination of 6400K, 2700K, 730 nanometers, and now that is infrared, and 640 nanometers, which is far red. Now that's two light that plants need, which you don't get a lot of in your lower end LEDs. So here's another one I got. I picked this up just for my plants in the house. It was dead cheap, and it semi sort of works. It's better than nothing. So let's talk about wattages. Both of these are 24 watts. So what's the difference? Well, watts doesn't talk about the light quality or the amount of light or anything that's produced. Watts is just how much electrical energy this unit will use. E times I, volts times the amps. Input 120 volts, and that's how you figure out. It has absolutely nothing to do with your light output. What's great about the LEDs now, as opposed to the fluorescents, you have a ballast in here that you need to, you know, it takes up energy. It heats up elements, gets an arc going, which, well, not so much an arc, but it energizes the fluorescent tube. It fluoresces, it produces heat, and a lot more than the LEDs do. The LEDs basically, they just take and convert the electricity straight to light energy without a lot of loss. So this 2400 watts with this LED, it produces 2640 lumens. Now that's an amount of light. If you want to learn more about lux and lumens, there's lots on the internet. This is a backyard grow. Does it work? Yes, no. If you want to get into the science behind it, there's lots of that on the internet. So the LEDs, it produces 2640 lumens. The more lumens, the better. They will last for roughly 50,000 hours. So this will last a really long time. Moving over to the fluorescent tube, it will last around 10,000 hours. Unfortunately, with a fluorescent tube, they degrade. So probably you'll have to replace it in between 5,000 hours and, you know, maybe 7,500 hours, somewhere's in there. It also only produces 1,500 lumens. So you're looking at the same electrical cost. This is all right for like a small house plant in the winter, just a little supplemental lighting. I think it was 25 bucks. Not the best purchase I ever made, but not the worst either. So then you come over to these two guys, and I will plug them in. We'll start with the Florescent. And I'll turn that on. And you see there, it isn't really terribly intense. You can look at it with the naked eye without any problem. And you can see it's quite white/blue. Now I'm going to go over to this one. And I'm going to close my eyes when I turn this on, because you can see how much brighter that is. And if you've got a heavy set of glasses on, you can see that there's the bluish ones, the 6400s, the slightly orangish ones, which are 24s. There's some, I don't know about the camera, but to the naked eye, it doesn't look like they're working. Those are the infrareds, and then there's some real red ones here, and that's your far red. I'm going to turn that back off because it's just too bright. So that's the start on the fluorescents and the diode ones. You know, you can hang these. This here will hold 7 T5s together. You put them, you rack them up. You can hang them from a chain so you can get your various heights over your plants. Works good. If you don't want to pick a set of these up, most of them, when you buy the LEDs, will come with these little clips. And you can put that, screw that on the wall and mount it in the wall if you're not going to move it. That works as well. I've got both. I've got this that I use, but I also took some aluminum angle iron, not angle iron, but some aluminum L channel, screwed a bunch of these in, and that's what I'm using. Quick and easy. So I think I've pretty well covered everything with this, except for the high intensity discharge stuff. And I do have one other bulb that I will be going out to my greenhouse with and putting that, you know, showing that to you and talking about it. So that's it for here right now. And now I'll just head out to the greenhouse. Okay, here I am out in my greenhouse again with another lighting option. So there's my fan. I always have a fan running in the greenhouse when everything's up and going. It helps to pollinate, but also the air movement helps with the oxygen and the CO2 that needs to be blowing around for the plants to eat. But more importantly, there is an HPS, a special HPS bulb. There is the ballast. You'll need a ballast to run these. There's a timer to turn it off and on. Now what's special about this bulb, it's not just an HPS, but it's what they call a Hortilux. And it produces more blue-purple light than your standard HPS. And what I like about the Hortilux, I started out with just a straight 400 watt HPS. And the plants did good. There's no doubt about it. But when I swapped over to this Hortilux, the plants just loved it. It was by far better. So that is what you need for a setup. Now you'll notice there's a hole cut in the end of the hood. That's because I've run 1,000-watt HPS / Hortilux in my greenhouse. Don't do it so much anymore. Slowly moving over to LEDs on everything. So now here it sits in my greenhouse, and on cloudy days I'll snap it on. Anyways, that is an option. And we'll go back inside now. Okay, back in. So, what's the conclusion? For myself, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I grow plants, I start flowers up in the middle of the winter so that I can have some color in my windowsill in the early spring before it's too cold to put the plants outside. This year I got 2 different types of poppies and some violas growing, and it was great to have them in the window. Give me some nice color at the end of winter, start of spring. So I've been doing this a long time. I'm pretty well strictly the LEDs. The fluorescents, I'm going to give away. This guy here, I'll still use. Out in the greenhouse, I still have my Hortilux that I'll use some days, but I don't use it a lot anymore. So where to start? You got to look at your budget and how much grow area you have. If you're going to do up, say, a 4-foot by 4-foot space, absolutely, I would go with a Hortilux high pressure sodium bulb. Cost, I don't know, it's been a long time, but I think you can probably get into one of those for $100. Now you want to keep them well above your plant canopy because they get really hot. And they're very bright, especially for inside the house. They are bright. You're going to want to do something for light abatement. Second step, these T5s are quite good. I would get a combo of them. If you're wanting to go all out, if you're looking to build a good system and you want to spend a bit of money, I would go with the LEDs. You can easily get north of $1,000 spent on LEDs. But the lifespan of them and the amount of light, you'd have to have almost twice as many fluorescent tubes to get the same amount of light. Then the electrical costs and replacement costs. I'm ending up with mostly the LEDs. They run cooler. You can get these right down on your plant canopy, say 5-10 centimeters above it, and pour the light to your plants. Fluorescent tubes, of course, run much warmer, and you'll need to have them probably 8 inches to a foot minimum above your plant canopy. High pressure sodium, you want that 6 feet away. They just get so hot. So my conclusion is that I know what I'm doing. Your mileage may vary, but if you want to just get in and start with 2 tubes of the T5s, one 2700, one 6400, that's a good way to start. When your next step to step up, get another 2700 and go from there. You won't get as good a plants as you will with one of these, but they work really good. I've used them for probably 10-15 years without any complaints. So that's the end of it for today. Have fun and enjoy the garden.